Hello Taurus, this is your September 2019 reading. If you are new, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. While I am shuffling your cards, Taurus, I wanted to mention a few other channels that you might enjoy. The Leo King is an interesting channel that you might want to go and have a look at. It is, I mentioned this in the other videos, he is, so far as I can see, primarily all astrology. He's been around for quite a while, but he is very high energy. So if you like that kind of thing, head over there and check that channel out. And the other channel that I saw was the Rosie Tarot. I'm pretty sure that's that's the right channel name. And she seems to be the type of reader who has a very nice connection with her audience, and seems to be intuitive with her readings. So if you guys want to check either one of those channels out. Oh, and also, as the cards are all over the table, in September on the 23rd, you have the September equinox, and on the 29th, the conjunction of the moon and Mercury. So let's get these cards in order here. Taurus, my lovely Taurus friends, and the readings so far have been a little bit lighter than they have been over the past several months, which is nice because everyone's had a really heavy couple of months. Taurus, you guys astrologically are in kind of a nice place right now, and you should be continuing to come into some easier places for quite a while. So I'm not the best person to explain the why of that, but go look at some of the people who do astrology. I can maybe recommend some other channels that are pretty good at that. If you're interested in future readings, I will suggest other channels that are really good. Alright, so for September, my dears, some old behaviors, Taurus, creeping in around romance. Some old behaviors, maybe some jealousy around maybe an old person, maybe an ex. Excuse me. Taurus, please excuse me, I just need to take a little water. Thank you so much. But I think the nice thing is you're self-aware. I don't think you're sitting there going, oh my God, where is all this coming from? I think you definitely know that you're doing it, which is good because you can self-correct as you go. I think you're sort of catching yourself. Now, the cards down here are actually interesting to me, and before I come to this, which I know everyone sees immediately, I want to kind of come back around. So, for whatever this means to you, Cancer had a lot of kings, and right out of the gate, I see two queens with you who are facing away from each other, and then we have a king. So, Taurus, my impression with you for September anyway is that you may be really digging back into your history to try to correct these old behaviors, which is great. And I mentioned this in some other readings in 2019 about you really doing the work, which kind of is boring. But until you do that, you can't get past this stuff. The other thing is, you've got these 3 pieces of royalty, and you've got these 3 swords. So I think, if it is a third party, the other problem is you've got 3 people that really think they are above having to behave properly. And unfortunately, that may also, Taurus, be you. I think in this instance, you will be the Queen of Swords. I think that is your Earth energy. We do have 3 people here, so in this instance, I would tend to think this was a third-party situation. But there's another thing here which I think is really interesting in the way these cards came up, because they're in this row. You have, and this has nothing to do with gender, you take them as you like, but you have 2 women and 2 men. So the other thing that comes up is this has to do with duality of character. There are 2 sides to one party and 2 sides to another. And because they come up underneath, this 3 of Swords, this has to do with 2 people that are acting in 2 different ways. They're being nice to each other, but they're not being nice to each other. They're behaving in a way that's super sus. That's what it is. I'm nice to your face, I run behind your back. I'm nice to your face, I would cut you off in a minute. Just cut you off. And that's not really love. I almost pulled this out from the deck. What would come out then? Another king. So again, Cancer's reading was it was just like king, 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 king. I want to kind of clarify this a little bit more. King again. So now what you have again, much like the Cancer reading, are 3 kings on the board. Now this is a little bit different because in Cancer's reading what I talked about was some very bipolar behavior. This is not the same thing. Again, I think this is just, it's like 3's a crowd. There are a lot of people here. You may be able to reach some kind of an agreement with this person, because I think in this case you're kind of both doing things. You may have an attitude problem, to be honest, which a Taurus can be like that. A Taurus can be like, listen, it's this way, and I am absolutely fixed in this way of thinking. And if you're not going to come to me in this particular way, and Taurus have high standards, so you have to come to them in a way that is almost regal. If you start throwing plebe standards at them, they will chuck it out. They are like, I don't think so. So this person, it's almost like their king energy is like on and off. It's almost like they're throwing kind of crude things around, and so it may be that you're able to kind of end the situation. Not like you as a Taurus are going to be like, oh my God, that's amazing that you went with a third party. I am just, yes. But you may be able to end on friendly terms and kind of complete the cycle. Start at the beginning, sort of, because of the fact that you're like, you may be a little bit beneath me. Your version of king energy is not really my version of king energy, you know what I mean there, my friend? I mean, you know, Taurus, you know that this person is... what do we have here? Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing. They're acting like a king, but you know they're a knight. You know what I mean? I mean, they're definitely, you know, they have their armor on because they know. I don't think you're as hurt over this because you loved this person. I think your pride is insulted more because you're like, I think you did the work in previous months and even all through 2019, and so maybe in previous years. So because of where Taurus is in terms of the planets and everything, this is a time when Taurus is coming into their value. So maybe in previous years you would have been like desperately crying on the ground. There's none of that in here. There's none of like, oh my God. You know, it's, yeah, there's a little bit of that old behavior lingering, but you would have been on the ground crying. Like, you don't see the Ten of Swords here where the woman is like crying into her sheets. There's none of that. It's more like, you don't, look, there's more of like, you don't treat, I'm the queen, you don't do that, cut you off. There's that kind of thing. You know, and look, you're here. Look, you're like, yep. It's that kind of, so going into October, I mean, you know, I'm sorry, that was the 10. I'm so sorry. Not the, I can't, guys, I'm sorry, not the, I can't think of the number. Because the 10 is complete. I mean, but the 10 is completion. It's the 7, where she's crying. You know, this is you going back. This is you going back into like, you know, the children here, which is a fresh mind. Children here, a fresh mind. This is all a fresh thing where you're I mean, cutting it off, that's a fresh start. The Fool was here, I believe. Let me go back. Fool was here. Fool is here. The 10 is here. This is like the completion and a fresh, it's all full circle. This is you being willing to cut the person off and just being like, I mean, you know, the 10 of Swords is here, but, you know, my impression of that is just, you know, here. The Devil's here. The 3 of, you know, Swords is here. I mean, the swords together just tell me that, you know, and even the swords here, I mean, it just tells me that you're like, let me pick up this deck first. It just tells me that you're like, you know, it's a pride thing and it's an ego thing more than you being like, oh my God, I'm destroyed over this person. I mean, you know about it. The moon is here. But again, I mean, here you are. I mean, does this look like your pride is hurt, but you're like, you move on. I mean, that's your mindset. You have the Queen of Cups again. Here you are. 10 of Cups. You have the World. You have the Fool again. Fool comes up for this other person. Fool comes up over here. You know, you have judgment coming up over the start. This person was much more upset. If this person did cheat for some reason, they didn't cheat because they were lured in by somebody else. They cheated out of spite. They cheated out of spite and jealousy to get back at you because they were jealous of you and wanted it to, like, this is a funny thing to describe, like, so you're doing so well that it's like making this person upset, and they were hoping that by cheating on you, it would like really upset you and destroy your progress. It had nothing to do with this person being better looking. It had nothing to do with them being like hypersexual. It had nothing to do with that. They were like, you know what? Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, in this deck, the Two of Cups, this has to do with male and female energy. It has to do with two bodies being connected. This is what it is in this deck. So, and then you have the Empress. This was not done out of like, oh God, I can't wait to like go with this other person. They're so intriguing. This person was jealous of you. And if you know that on a subconscious level, that would explain why you're not that upset. You know, maybe you make more money than this person. Maybe this person is just insecure and you know it. Whatever the reason. You know, you sense what the real reason was, and instead of feeling like, oh my God, I'm inadequate or whatever, that's not where your mind is. You're like, well, I see it. I see, oh. No need to worry. Ask for help from others. I mean, if you have to leave for some reason, because you obviously don't want to stay in the same physical place as a person who cheated. I mean, at least not in the immediate. You know, you may just want to get away, have some time away, communicate clearly. You know, but you're not worried. I mean, your ego is not bothered. So, you know, this may be the time to just separate and just say, listen, in terms of communicating clearly, I think communicating your worth is really the point of September for you with this person. You don't need to communicate all of your progress and how you got there, but just saying, you know, obviously this isn't going to fly and I have to leave is the bottom line. So, Taurus, really interesting reading for you. Best of luck to you in getting what you need for the end of that. For some of you, if you have twins, super interesting, or siblings that are close in age, ask for their help in particular. They're willing to take you in. Even if they're going through something right now and you're hesitant to ask them anyway. They want to help you. Or if you're the oldest and they're the youngest and you feel kind of weird about that, ask them. They're into it. Help each other down in the comments. Share your stories with each other. Be kind to each other. You guys are such a good group. I always get back to everybody as quickly as I can in the comments. And as always, guys, take care.